So I invite us all to take a deep breath and connect at this moment, deep inside the center of our chest, becoming aware of that fire in the center of our chest, tuning into this great heart of creation. Giving thanks at this moment to life for allowing us to be here at this moment, sharing messages from truth and love. Thank you for giving us the clarity, the thoughts, the memories, the stories, the energy so we can expand these messages and touch the heart of many with this. Aho.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Collectively Rooted.
Welcome back. Today we have our very lovely friend, Diego Yarawy. Right?
Yarawy.
Yarawy.
Yeah.
Yarawy.
Okay.
And we know him from Family Constellations. You're a practitioner of it, correct? Is that what you said?
Yeah, facilitator, practitioner. Yeah.
You hold the space.
The space. Thank you for that. For sure.
Which is such a wild, intense experience, but beautiful. Beautiful. So thank you for that. Like he has to be psychic. The people who hold the space have to be some type of like medium. Because I don't know how to I don't know how to explain it. So I know that this is a perfect way for you to explain it.
Yeah. So, yes, Family Constellations is a beautiful healing modality, and in which we have the possibility to bring to light. I'm just going to explain briefly what it is, for people that don't know what Family Constellation is. So in this systemic therapy, it's a systemic therapy because we bring awareness of our unconscious connections with our family system. Many times the challenges that we are experiencing in our lives, whether it's in our relationships, in our health, in our finances, that's connected to trauma, a problem, something that it was not integrated in our family system. A trauma that our grandparents didn't heal, our parents or great-grandparents, or anybody in our family system. So we share that field of information. We call it, the family field, the family soul, the field, however you want to call it. It's that a field of information that we share with this family system. And many times, unconsciously, we are carrying those limitations, and that's affecting, the potential that we have to live a full life, the life that we truly want. And in this modality, we bring those to light. We bring those unconscious dynamics to light so we can become aware of them and we can heal them. So that's kind of, the basics of Family Constellations. And so regarding what you're saying about like being like a medium with that, it's very interesting because everybody in this type of work, it's connected. We're all the time connected to the field. We're all the time connected to this invisible field of information and energy, right? We kind of know that. And in this practice, it's very, evident because we do these movements where, for instance, so the way it works is that we have someone that we call the seeker. The seeker is the person who says, okay, I want to change this. I want to heal this. I want to transform this into my life. Again, that could be anything they want. So the first step that we do in the family constellation is having a conversation with that person. So to figure it out, what is the intention first? Because many times we think that we want something, but we're not very clear. Sometimes we're too focused on what we want to stop, but we're not really clear about what we truly want. Then we clarify what's the intention, and we find out what are the elements that are influencing that situation. The elements that are influencing the situation could be many things. Family members, the situation might be related to the unconscious dynamic with the mother, with the great-grandfather, with the inner child. Also could be emotions, could be related to anger, could be, objects, could be money, could be a house, could be organs, could be the liver, could be the throat, could be anything. And once we find those elements, we ask people in the circle when we do these family constellations in group, because we could also do it one-on-one. But when we do it in group, whether online or in person, we ask people to represent these elements. So we could ask, okay, can you please represent his or her mother, or the inner child, or any other element? And then this person start to receive this information. They don't have to be actors. They don't have to be, have to know anything about performance. It's just about becoming aware of this energy that is start to flow through their system. So some of them might feel, it could be anything. Oh, I feel tired. I feel a lot of energy. I hate this person. I want to hug this person. I want to lay down. I want to jump. I'm angry. All these different reactions that are related to the situation of the seeker. Many times, most of the time, the elements, the people who are representing the elements doesn't even know. They don't even know the person who is doing the seeker. The person who is calling the intention, and regardless of that, they are activating all this information. So the seeker is like observing this dynamic represented in front of them, where they understand, they become aware of, oh, I understand now why I'm creating this reality, this obstacle, this problem, this symptom, this challenge in my life, because it's related to this dynamic in my family system. And then we bring clarity to it. We use, healing sentences. We use healing movements to bring clarity and healing to that situation. So in the same way that they are channeling, we could use that word, or they're just tuning into that information, everyone else is. Regardless of you, if you are the seeker, or if you are the representative, or if you are observing the constellation, or if you are the facilitator of the constellation, you are experiencing this information that is beyond our rational understanding. That's why it's so powerful and effective, because really who is moving, who's guiding this constellation, it's life, it's a great heart, it's a great spirit, God, however you understand it. But there's a greater force, moving the pieces there. That's why we're all influenced by that, greater intelligence there.
Absolutely.
I'm getting flashbacks. And like you said, everybody is related to that though, even if you're observing. Because I remember the first time that I went, I was just observing, and there's three or four different type of people. Seekers, right?
Mm-hmm.
In one event.
Yeah. Yeah, usually 4. Yeah, depending, but yeah, it could be 4 or 5. Yeah.
Right. So the first one, I was like, man, these are all actors and stuff like that. And then the second time, I'm like, then they chose me to be an element or something. And I was very dumbfounded, because I do Reiki. I practice Reiki and all things, so I know how Reiki works. But I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe like how it works and how everybody is connected in one way, sort of form, because I spoke to different people that like, this is my story, or this is my mom's story. I'm connected to this even as an observer. And then it's when you are the representative, and like you said, sometimes people are like, oh, I'm cold. I don't know why I'm cold. And it's like, that person was dead. The seeker will be like, well, my dad is dead, and you're representing my dad. And, I remember somebody that had, actually, it was a friend of mine who, she was a seeker and she had skin issues. And that means we got to go back to the roots. Where are you from? Where did you come from? Or something like that. I think that is really cool. And I wanted to ask you upon that. If, let's say it's a liver, what does that mean? Or where do you, is there a rule book? How do you know this?
Yeah. So a lot of times that comes, with the experience, but there's also different modalities that study the mind and the body connection, and the emotions and the body connection. There's many of those. So we understand that anytime there's a symptom, it's related to a particular possibility, a particular belief, a particular emotion that is stuck in the body. You can study that. That's not perfect, in math. But it can give us ideas of something that is related to that. And then it's also the same thing that we were sharing, which is just being present and noticing what's happening there. Because as we're saying, is we're perceiving. Sometimes I'm there, and when I see this person, I just feel that that's related to something. I feel this emotion. I start to notice a dynamic that is telling us something. It's sometimes it's kind of obvious. It's just really paying attention. If we see someone, wanted to lay down, in cold, it's like, okay, that's dead energy. We call that in family constellations, that's a dead energy. Skin issues sometimes is related to territory. Somebody who has, problems with being, like, maybe in their childhood they didn't feel safe at home in the environment. They have problems where they live, and then we can start to tune into what's going on, relating also to the other elements. We see how that element it's reacting to the presence of the mother, the father, somebody else there. Sometimes we also use, other resources, not just family members, to get more clarity to what's going on. We could bring emotions. Okay, let's see if this person is having this symptom. Let's see what happens if we, show anger. Let's see what happens with anger, with fear, and that start giving us more information of what's happening. Then all of a sudden, the seeker remembers, oh yes, that something happened with my grandmother, and because it's really magical and requires trust. And as facilitators, we're not necessarily, we don't know what's going on many times. Really, we're just exploring.
Things unfold.
Right.
It's like not just your intuition or whatever, but it's I want to say a smart technology in the air. I don't know. Where just you see it from even more your genie. You've already seen it. You've ever, I don't know if you've ever
Like a
seen
third
Aladdin.
eye views.
Yeah, where in Aladdin the genie comes out and is in space, like looking at the world, and that's what I see you as. You're looking at everything unfold before you, and that's why it's so easy for you to get it too. But yeah.
Yeah. So it's about observation. It's about paying attention. And it's also, Bert Hellinger, the founder of Family Constellations, he was also referring to being always empty. That's a Taoist term. He knew about this philosophy, in this practice, in this wisdom, and that's also what we do there. So we're always doing our best to be empty. To be in connection with the heart, to be in silence, to find that place within where we're silent, where the mind is not telling us the stories, but we're just being quiet, waiting for an insight, a movement, an understanding, and then that's where really the information comes. Many times we have theories. Okay, there's some similar cases that we can see, like, okay, this situation, I know it's very possible it's related to this situation that I've seen that happens when the mother-daughter connection is broken. I know that's probably that, but it's a theory until I don't see what's really happening in the field and the constellation start to show up, what's really happening there. So we all got to be open to see what's the reality of the situation and observe. So that's why, silence, it's a big part of this, modality. We're always, connecting with this place of silence and allowing this information to arise from there.
What brought you to want to do this? Was there something personal for you, or was it something that you saw was necessary? What brought you to it?
So yes, I was already working as a transformative coach. I started first as a transformative coach.
Is that like a life coach?
It's similar to life coaching, but let's say life coaching, it works more with strategies and what I could say, the 3D world, matter to matter things, how to improve the way you're doing things, which could help in many things. But transformative coaching is more like, we could say, it's a spiritual approach, to life, where we bring awareness of our relationship with our thinking, with our relationship with our emotions, with our relationship with our energy, with our relationship with consciousness. Like the goal there for us is to help people to reconnect with the deep essence of their being, and from that place everything really transform, and people experience more fulfillment, people experience more joy, just because that's our natural essence. Sometimes it's just covered in unconscious beliefs and ideas and programs that don't allow us to really become aware of our essence. So I was working as a transformative coach already, because I started in, I don't know, it was like 2013. And then it was mainly based on meditation. I was doing a lot of, meditation and helping people with meditation, which I still find it like the ultimate tool.
Is it a TM?
Not really, not really. We could say that TM also, help people to get to that place of oneness, but I use different techniques, that work a little bit different and the people bring to every moment life. It's just not when they are in a passive meditation or when they're sitting in meditation, but they can bring that awareness to, to their every moment of their lives. And we could also use it in a creative way. We could use it in the sense that when we go to this place, when we purify ourselves, with these beliefs, these thoughts, these needs, these fears, these emotions, this attachment to the known, and we open ourselves to the unknown, then we can start creating magic in our lives. We start creating a different way of living where things start to show up with more fluidity and less mental effort. And so that's big part of what I do there. And so I was doing already that. I was bringing some art therapy, which was also very important, because it's all about how we use our creative energy, our healing energy or sexual energy, life force. And art is one of the most important tools that we have for that purpose. Music, film, writing, dancing, and any type of creative activity that we're using. It could be anything. And so I was doing that, and all of a sudden, I was already reading Bert Hellinger. I always felt so connected with his wisdom. I did one constellation, and I experienced something similar. I was like, I don't believe this thing. It's like they're like acting. I don't necessarily trust. And then they start also that they calling me to represent, and I did my constellation. I was like, this is something. There's something here.
There, yeah.
And
And
you were the seeker.
I was a representative and a seeker that day too. Yeah, my first experience. And probably 2 months after that, I was working with this friend and I did some, study. I was studying with him other things, tarot reading and symbols and stuff. And he is a teacher of this Institute of Family Constellations. And he's like, okay, we're going to start this certification for Family Constellations. You want to be part of it? I'm like, no, man, I just done one constellation. That doesn't make any sense. Like, well, it's for everybody. If you want to do it, just the invitation is there. And I was like, I don't think so. But let me think. Something in me was really moving. It was like, it was so obvious that it was a call. It was an intense call. So I said, okay, let me think about it. And I was going that weekend to a plant medicine ceremony. So I was like, let me set that intention. Let me get clarity if this is really something for me. And during that ceremony, during the night, I was noticing these amazing connections. I started noticing patterns, connection between people. Something was trying to, I was connecting with this communication, with this information that we're talking about. I started noticing this thing. I don't know what this is, but I gotta know what it is. I want to study. I want to figure out what this is. So I went and studying it just because I felt that call. I didn't really think it was going to be that important in my life, honestly. I just felt that call. I'm just going to do it because this curiosity, this pure curiosity was guiding me to explore that wisdom. And immediately I connected with this power. We were kind of in the middle of that certification. And my friend and teacher, Tarso, he's one of the founders of this institute, Inmensa Vida. He's like, Diego, are you already doing constellations? I'm like, no, we're just in the middle of the certification. Yeah, I know. Are you already doing constellations? I don't know. I mean, well, I'm thinking about it. Yes, I know. Go ahead, do it. All right. And that same day, I had a session with a client for in my coaching, and we ended up doing a family constellation one-on-one. It was so powerful. Start recognizing the power of that. And since that, I started the journey and been learning since then. As I told you before we start our conversation here, I finished that certification and then I start learning about all these different things that of course, we're all learning. I'm still learning this. It's very mysterious and very beautiful. And I'm so grateful, to be able to support this movement of healing in these containers. Yeah.
I think it was because I participated as a seeker my first time with you. And I had nothing like you guys had as far as this is a joke. I was going open-minded.
Yeah.
Whatever, if it's meant for me to receive something, I'll receive it. It is what it is. What I found very interesting, even though people weren't seekers, they were, what are they called? Representatives?
Yeah.
Representatives. One person specifically, I could still remember what she looks like. The main reason I was going there, she said, it's funny you picked me as your mother, because I was going with that, because I'm in the same situation as you're saying your mother was when you were a child. And I didn't know her from a hole in the wall.
Yes.
And that's where I was like, this is real.
Yes.
What is it that I would pick somebody to represent as my mother who is walking in the same steps
Yes.
as I was going there for at the present moment with, child and everything. So I'm like, wow.
We're all connected. Everything aligns.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed is that when people are not being genuine because I feel like they need to be a little bit dramatic or whatever, you call them out. I've seen it happen. So I felt that from that person too. And you're like, let's go back to the body. And I don't think, go back to the body. And I love that. And I was like, oh, we caught that. Okay, cool. So it's interesting to see the authenticity of it too.
And then you'll call out if it's not.
Yeah. Because the first one that I saw, the girl was acting like a baby, like a little child. And I was like, okay, this is a lot for me. Like, but then once even when I was in it, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And then I'm like, okay, stop, go back to your body. Because I was like, go back to your body, go back to your body. And I think I've been a godfather. I've been the element of femininity. I've been freedom. I forgot what else, but every which one is absolute. And even masculinity, I was at one point. And it's funny how everything was aligned with me as well. And I'm like, I don't have to be anything. I'm just being that. I'm just letting it come through me. And the music that you play is so on point too. On my way here, I have a playlist, just random music, and the song by Mercedes
Sosa,
Todo Cambia.
Todo Cambia.
That was the first one that really hit me from the first. I don't know if it was. I remember it was the same day. I just don't remember which one it was because it's 3 or 4, and I'm like, where am I? At the end of the day, I'm like, who did what? I can't remember. And then I'm exhausted at the end of the night.
Yes, it's very exhausting.
It's super. I can't imagine how it is for you.
Right, that's what I wondered too. I wondered that too. When I came home, I was and you said to me, you're going to be exhausted. Take a bath if you want, sleep as long as you want, hydrate. And in my head, when I was feeling this that night, the next day, that whole weekend, I was just like, I just want to lay. I'm like, how does he do this? If I'm feeling this way, right, to hold all of us in there, all the people, all that energy, I'm like, wow.
Yes. So it's really powerful. So you touch on different things that I like to share. But let's start with this one, which is usually after any healing experience, the body needs some space to regenerate. It's like the body calls for regeneration, and in order for regeneration, it needs energy. So it's because if we're using the energy for processing our food, like metabolism, then the body cannot use it for healing. Or if we're using the energy for creativity or for doing whatever, so the energy will be used for that purpose. But when the body is experiencing this healing, this movement, because what happens in family constellations is deep. We experience the releasing of emotions, energy that being stored in the body for sometimes generations. So it's a deep movement that changed the whole system. So the body needs that readjustment, and so it's calling for space. So that's why I always recommend people to take that time to support that process of regeneration, sleeping, walking in nature, meditating, sleeping, receiving a massage, or just in any way or other, just to support that healing process. I'm also a human being, so of course many times I have that, but the more I do it, the more I tend to not be so attached to those processes, So I always make sure that I'm opening a clear space, and I'm always making sure that I close it, very clearly, so I don't stay with anybody's processes. And And that's why I also, at the end of each workshop, I do a deep meditation. Usually I open with a simple meditation, and at the end I usually do like a very deep meditation. Sometimes it's supported by sound healing or Reiki, or any other healing modality that help us to integrate those emotions, that energy that is moved. And that's essential for me. I recognize I was doing it at the beginning. I was just doing it for me. At the end, I was like, okay, I was like, the first years that I was doing it, I was going home to do that meditation myself, to integrate all those processes. And after that, I was just feeling great, even with more energy, even more alive. And that's what I experience these days after a constellation. After we do all the meditation, the sound healing, all that energy that it was processed and released, now in a way it gave us more energy, because it's like, I'm gonna explain it in this way. Let's see let's see how it goes. But it's like, sometimes the emotions that are stuck in the system are blocking the flow of energy. Many of us carry emotions stuck in our bodies, and they are obstructing the flow of our energy. Once we release those emotions, the energy can flow better. We have a lot more energy. And so that's what I do at the end. I bring awareness in different ways to this, energy work. That's why we do Reiki. That's why we do, the sound healing, to become more aware and to support the movement of this energy. So anytime I finish the constellation, most of the time I feel better than ever. That's what I'm experiencing. But I also give myself some time to process. Usually the next day, well, sometimes I do, several workshops in a row. Yeah. But when I finish, if it's a retreat or if it's several days of constellations, I make sure that once that's done, I have at least one day just for regeneration, where I meditate, I do cold plunges, I do a floating tank, I receive a massage, I do something to really support that integration. And also because many times in those moments, I start receiving all these insights, like all that energy that it was moved. It's in a way, it's helping me to expand my energy. And when we expand our energy, we also expand our consciousness, and that comes with insights, understanding. So I take that time to do that.
For things to come in.
Yes.
Would you say, because I saw in my one, I've only done it once, like I said, as a seeker, would you say that doing a family constellation, either as a seeker or as a representative, can help people with ancestral traumas as well? If so, how or why?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. And I always do my best to make this clear that yes, everyone who is participating in a family constellation have the potential to receive deep healing in their lives in different ways, because again, we are all connected to this field. And it's very interesting how you were also mentioning how this person in your first constellation, she was representing something very similar to what she was experiencing. And what we see there is that that's very common. In our workshops, we have a lot of times, pretty much every workshop, a representative says like, oh my God, this was just exactly what I needed to see. This constellation was for me. I have a couple people even asking me like, tell me the truth, Diego, you knew my life. You're organizing this for my life. Like, no, and honestly, this is life, doing this type of work. And so what I understand is that because of the vibration of the frequency, that we're all vibrating in a particular way, depending on our consciousness level or our emotional patterns or beliefs, all that carries vibration and energy. So when somebody's calling for a representative, I always invite the seeker to make it in a very intuitive way. As also what you're saying, Alexa, when I ask people, come back to your body, come back to your heart, it's because this is not a work for the rational mind. We have space for that as well. Usually at the end, we have a little bit of integration where we bring understanding in concepts, and I do my best to explain whatever I understand. But it's a work of the heart. And in that way, I always ask the seeker to trust their intuition and choose the representative based on that feeling. So when that's done, the frequency is what's really calling, energy is what's really making the moves there. That's why we choose people that, without knowing, they're also healing or in alignment with something that is similar to that element. Many times because it's related to their current situation, or many times because a similar trauma, similar dynamic is in their family system. Yeah. So and they also have the possibility to see it and to heal it. Many people, different people that I remember that they only participating in family constellations as representatives if they're experiencing deep healing in their lives. We have some testimonials there in my Instagram where people are just sharing about that, how they just participating as a representative and they're just transforming their life entirely. Yeah.
Well, that day the lady said that at the end, she had told you, and then she pulled me aside. She said, "Thank you, because this makes me, I'm not going to do this anymore." I never thought about it on the other side, because there was a child involved too, which I was going as the child seeker at that time. And I see what it's done to you and you're grown up now. And I'm stopping that now, I guess. Thank you. I don't know.
Yes.
But that was amazing to me. And I'll never forget that. And I talk about it all the time to certain people, and they're like, "No, you're lying." I'm like, "No, seriously. It was a complete stranger."
Yes. Yes.
For sure.
I have a question about, because I'm a strong believer cures and stuff like that, because one thing is trauma that is still in the energetic field, and then there's trauma that's already manifested into the physical field, right?
Yeah.
And you see a lot of things that can, and I hate cure is such a word that you shouldn't use, but we're gonna use it, that they cure their own thing just from, and I mean energetically, just the family trauma or ancestral things, or even for them. But have you ever seen that that with your own eyes, or testimonials where it was a skin thing? That it was the person had something in their skin and it completely went away, or they had a limp and now they could walk straight? Have you ever seen it actually okay?
Yes. I remember this girl is coming to mind. Like I remember there's many times people coming with different physical symptoms, and then after one family constellations, those symptoms are gone. I remember this lady that was in constellation that I did in Homestead. It was, sometimes I do constellations before sweat lodges or before ceremonies. And that was before a sweat lodge. And she was having this, I don't remember the name that they gave it to that symptom that she was experiencing in her hands. Doctors couldn't, heal it, couldn't find the cure, just giving them a lot of medications, but for years, and it was not working. What we saw, it was that it was related to an abuse that she experienced with her father. Her father was abusing her, so she was now she was protecting herself from men, and she was going through these issues with her husband, and that was the what her body was doing. That was the way to stay safe, and that, without having the closeness of these men, because her body was connecting men with danger. So once she recognized all that, and she called me maybe a week after that, and it was gone. It was gone forever. She's always remind me of that.
Just checking up on you, just to let you know the skin issue isn't working.
No, she's not. She's every now and then she always send me a message like she's so grateful. She's so grateful. She's so grateful. So that's a blessing.
Be part of that, not to be egotistical.
No. Well, that's a great point, because I know that I'm not doing any of that. That's and that's a very important part of, I think, any healing modality. Just recognizing that we're not really doing anything, but just allowing the life energy to move freely. We're just creating a container for life to keep on moving. That's why I also bring the understanding that healing is not fixing anything, because we're not broken. We're all perfect. It's just life is in this continuous expansion and movement, and we could resist it, or we could just flow with it. But flow with it requires just it's an everyday tuning. It's an everyday realignment. So that's what we do. We just consciously creating this container to keep on tuning into that, to keep on expanding, to keep on bringing awareness of our possibilities, to keep on bringing awareness of what's holding us back in this or in that way. But it's life that is moving, and healing is healing comes from the word hold. So it's more about remember our wholeness, and from that wholeness, keep on expanding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because our bodies heal ourselves. I mean, we are meant to heal ourselves. We just sometimes need, like you've said earlier, we've been blocked by so many things that we internally forget that we could heal ourselves in so many ways. And for you people like you yourself and many others out there that hold space to kind of remind us, like, and bring us back to that. We are our own healers. We just have to tap into it.
Yes.
I do have a question going back on what you said about the lady with this, or the skin, that she told you she healed herself. What was it about the family constellation that opened her to heal herself, or her to release what she needed to release in order for her body to heal?
Yes. So, well, trauma, it's not necessarily a situation that happened. It's the interpretation that we gave to a situation, right? So anytime we gave a meaning that is closing our systems, closing our body, creating this space of defensiveness, we could say that that's trauma. We have a memory that unconsciously is close. It's making us close ourselves to the flow of energy, energetically, physically, and mentally. We're closing to life. So that we could say that that's a trauma. It's and sometimes those memories are what we could call they're adaptive. They're for our growth, for our evolution. Let's say there's a woman who experienced a lot of abuse from men. Let's say this great grandmother. She was in this environment where men were very abusive, violent, So she developed these strategies to close herself, to be defensive, and to survive, pretty much. So that's an adaptive mechanism that helped her to survive when she was a child and all that. But let's say her granddaughter, she's in a different environment. She's in an environment where actually men, they're not abusive. Maybe we have this woman that she's actually wanting to have a romantic relationship, a beautiful relationship with a man, and maybe she's with a healthy man.
Right.
But her body is still closing, defending herself because of the memory of the great grandmother, because of the strategy that it was there, because of the trauma. And so at this moment, it's a maladaptive memory because
it's trauma in the lineage.
It's a trauma in the lineage. So what we do in family constellations is that we bring that to awareness, because she doesn't know. She's like, no, I want to have a healthy relationship, but I don't know why that's happening. I just, I started getting angry, and I started reacting in this way, and closing myself. I don't know why. So we realize, because in your system, there's this story, this pattern, there's this strategy, this memory, there's this emotion, there's this trauma that is influencing your current reaction. So once she sees that, and importantly, not just because I can tell her, this is a theory.
Right.
That's gonna help a little bit. Right. But what really creates the healing is when she can feel that, like she recognizes, she feel her great grandmother's pain. She processes that, because trauma, in a way, it's also an emotion that has not been able to be fully processed, because at that moment, that great grandmother or whoever experienced that traumatic situation didn't have the right resources to process that emotion. So in a way, that emotion is stuck there. And then what we do is like, okay, we bring that, and we have this safe space, this safe container where we can feel that emotion. So we feel that emotion, we cry, we yell, we do whatever the emotion wants to do from this place of awareness without being the emotion fully, but we observe it, and we allow the emotion to move and to be released. And what that emotion is released, then the system is free from that experience. We naturally have a different understanding of the situation. We're giving a different meaning to the situations. We're changing the story. Now, in that case, men are dangerous. Now, no men are beautiful or protectors or whatever, the understanding is coming. And then once that's really happening in the body, well, it's a different story. Then you don't have to, do too much. It's just like you're in a different reality, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time to those movements to keep on sinking in. But once that's done, life is completely different. So that's just one of the examples on how that works. It's just a different story. It's also coming when I remember this woman. I also remember this case because she lives in Russia. And one friend that usually comes to Family Constellations is friends with her. So she brought her to one session. This was a one-on-one session. In the session, she told me that she's been going through this crazy insomnia, but crazy. It's been years without really being able to fully sleep. She's going literally crazy. She's going to all these different healers, psychiatrists, taking medication, doing all these different things, going all over the world trying to heal herself, and nothing is working. Nothing is working. She's thinking about killing herself. She already tried to commit suicide because she cannot sleep. She's like, her whole world it's in chaos. In the session, we found that she remembers that sometimes her father, when she was little, I don't know, maybe she was like 9 years old or something like that, she had, her brother, he was little, and her father showed up a few times drunk, and he was beating up her brother, but really bad, really bad. She, stand up, and she was protecting her brother.
So she can't sleep because she's like, where's he at?
Exactly. So after that, her body was like, you cannot sleep. You gotta protect. You gotta protect. You gotta protect. And for some reason, she forgot about it. Our mind is very interesting. She repressed that memory. She didn't remember that. But for years, she was all night, she was in this alert, just protecting. And after that, after she remembered that, her whole body transformed in that session. She cried. Her face was completely different after that session. And she called me like a couple of weeks after that. She told me that she slept like for 3 days in a row. And her life transformed completely after that session. Yeah.
Oh, when you said, "Oh, they don't sleep," made her. We don't
I
sleep.
know
So
we don't sleep. And I'm like, wait,
we were behind this, but then it started more often to sleep, and I'm like, "Oh no,
No,
not
that's
that." I actually know somebody like that, and I had to tell like, "Hey, like, it's out of our scope of practice," because she was going around. I was like, "It's spiritual psychosis at this point." And now you're saying this, and I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm gonna tell her because I've given her so many references.
Yeah, maybe she should do a family constellation.
Yeah, I think so. There's something deep in there that she needs help.
Yeah.
And everybody, it's not that people are turning her down, they just don't know what to do, or we don't know. We tried everything in our toolbox.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, many times that's that. It's unconscious. Many times we don't really understand how the unconscious works. That everybody, or not everybody, but it's very common to hear about the unconscious, the subconscious. But I think it's really important for every human being to understand this, because this refers to some memories that we don't see.
Right.
And in our conscious mind will always figure out a way to explain what's happening, even if it's not true. And so many times people already think they know. Many times, like this girl, she already had the story. No, I cannot sleep because of this. This is what this doctor told me and this doctor told me. But many times it's important to understand that many of the things that are affecting us are rooted in things that we don't know.
Right.
They're unconscious. They're because if something happened to your great grandmother, great grandfather, you don't even have to know them, but your body remembers that situation, and you might carry that emotion, that trauma within yourself. And these type of containers help us to remember, to bring it to light, so we can heal them.
It's cool because one of our guests, she's in hypnotherapy, and this is hypnotherapy, but like not while the person is not that you're sleeping, but you're fully awake.
But we also in this trance. We were also in a trance. Yeah,
That's the word.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you do have a workshop coming up, right? With Luz October or something.
Yeah, the 5th. The 5th. We have one in Spanish. It's Saturday 4th. I think it's 4th, the October 4th, and in English in Sunday 5th. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Okay. Do you still need seekers?
Well,
Or you just need representatives?
you usually have only space for 4 seekers and then for representatives. So yeah, I will invite people just to send us a message, and we'll let them know if we have a space
Because you
for
always
that.
do like 1 or 2 a month, right?
I try to do one Spanish and one in English a month, but this year I think those two are gonna be the last ones for
Okay. Yeah,
the
'cause in the
groups.
holidays and stuff.
Yeah, I'm
But you
doing.
still only do one-on-ones with you.
I always do one-on-ones, and I'm considering doing some online, but that's like in person, in group. That those two might be last for the years because I'm doing these retreats and I'm doing these ceremonies and I'm doing. But yeah, on one-on-one, it's always available, and in online, I'm doing some groups on online constellations as
I
well.
do have a question. Do you do, I don't know why I just thought of this, family constellations, for instance, for couples that
Yes.
have like marital or relationship issues? What about couples that are having problems to have children?
Yes. Yeah, we do that. We do family constellations sometimes with one seeker, but many times we have the couple as the seeker. So, or sometimes we have a family, when there's one particular subject that they all share that they want to work on. Like, for instance, this family called me because in the system they experience like several of them committed suicide. So they're like, and several of them were experiencing suicidal thoughts. So we did this constellation for the whole group. And sometimes we do constellations for a couple, because what we see in family constellations is that when someone gets with someone else in this couple relationship, it's not two individuals, as a couple. It's two family systems coming together. So it's important to become aware of that, because many times, like, let's see how these two family systems are dancing together, because many times the issues are somewhere there that experiencing. So bringing that and bringing that harmony to the two systems, it's very important. Yes.
Would you say for people that are couples that are having problems having children, would, in your experience in family constellation, from what you know, do you think it would be something behind the family behind it that needs like healing on both sides or one side? Or, for instance, let's say it was me and my husband. Is it that my family's not accepting something from his family lineage, which is causing us not to procreate and continue this new lineage together?
Yeah.
Is that even a thing that you know of it would involve family constellation?
Yeah, with, like, it could be many things. Again, I've seen different situations, but it's always important to bring awareness again, because we don't know what's causing it. But what we know is that in family constellations, we can definitely see what's going on behind the conscious mind. So I've seen, for instance, cases where this story of this woman, that he was not able to have children, and what we saw is that someone in her family system passed away delivering a baby. So there was this association of delivering with dying, and there was a big fear to it. Once she saw that, she could heal that. So that's one thing. We also see a lot of cases where women and the same woman or someone in the system had abortions that were not fully integrated, or miscarriages, because that is a very important thing that sometimes I've seen many women not being fully aware of the importance of integrating those souls. Because when sometimes women, of course, they do it because in their understanding they have to do it. This is not about blaming or guilt or anything. It's just the awareness of what that movement creates in the system. If you did it, if you had to do it in your understanding, well, now it's important that you have the process, have the container to integrate those souls. Because it's like in the family soul, in the family system, in a way, if you had an aversion or a miscarriage and you just did it from this, rational mind, and you're not really giving the place to the soul, these dynamic tend to repeat in the system. So it's like, then we see situations where women don't have the capacity to be pregnant again because of that situation, and many other problems that one of the big healings that I had in my life with family constellations was one of these is my grandmother. she had an abortion. She had actually 2 abortions, but I was connecting with one of those souls. I didn't know most of my life, until I recognized that I was connecting with my uncle Leonardo. That's how I ended up calling him. And he in a way he showed up with that name, but he was never seen. He was never integrated in the family system. So imagine a soul that is so rejected that cannot even cannot participate in this game of life, and the mother is rejecting this soul and not even seeing him, not even like how acknowledging the life, the soul there, but it's just
And
like
sometimes
blocking.
not intentionally.
Not intentionally, just because of the many times of the lack of awareness that there's a soul there, that the importance of recognizing and just giving it a place. You belong. This is your name. I feel you. I carry you in my heart. It's a painful process for most women, of course, but it's essential. If not, someone else will repeat that. We see illnesses, we see people dying, we see people committing suicides, we see people stuck in life in many ways because of those abortions or miscarriages not being fully integrated.
And that would be also for men. If they are having problems having kids too, would that fall on men too? Is it
sometimes too? Yeah, sometimes also that the whole system is influenced by those dynamics. Yeah.
I have to back you up on what you just said, because on my family constellation, I went and saw you and I said, I'm always feeling stuck. Like I'm stuck in this one thing. And it ended up being what, with my mom's stuff and her traumas and whatnot, and my dad and his wife, there was a child. I didn't even know that there was a brother that didn't come to life. I didn't even know it happened. And that you had said was, well, not you, but that came out in the family constellation, that was stuck because he was like, no, you're supposed to acknowledge me. And I didn't even know. I didn't even know that there's this brother. I would, of course, acknowledge it.
That's when I was like, do I have to be psychic?
Yeah.
They're speaking to someone.
But that is so true. That is so true, because after that, and we acknowledge it there, and I acknowledge it still to this day, I was able to move. Like, stuff got moved.
Yeah.
So, for sure.
Yeah. So family constellations are based on 3 principles. We call them the orders of love. And the second principle is the principle of hierarchy, which means that, so the first one is that everyone belongs, everyone and everything belongs. That's the foundation of healing. If you see all these healing modalities in one way or another, they're bringing the possibility to reconciliate something inside where we are rejecting something or someone. So it's figuring out the way to reconnect, to bring innocence, love to this war within. And the second order of love is the order of hierarchy, which means, okay, if everyone belongs, then everyone belongs to a particular place. Everyone has its place in the family. So when we are not in our place, we are creating obstruction to this flow of love, this flow of energy. And that happens when, for instance, we believe that we are the number 3, that's sibling number 3 in the family, but we're not number 3, we're number 4. There's another sibling there that we're not aware because it was in a different family, or again, it's an abortion or something else. So that creates, it for our conscious mind, that doesn't make too much sense. Right. But when we figure out, when we bring that awareness to our body, something happens. Mm-hmm. Something happens, and then we all of a sudden things start to flow, things start to open. Mm-hmm. And so that's a big part of the healing.
Yeah. I mean, I experienced it myself. Like I said, I have no idea. And it was just that from that time of my family constellation as a seeker, it was that my mom and his mom were pregnant at the same time by our same dad. And he didn't get to be birthed, and I did. So I guess it was that, why you and not me type of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So that was holding me back. But once we acknowledged it, I'm free.
we see a lot of those, blind loyalties. That's a big concept that we have in family constellations that we see. Loyalty? Yeah, blind loyalties, mm-hmm. which means that in a way, unconsciously, we're loyal to a family member or to a dynamic in the family system. Unconsciously, like for instance, if somebody dies in close to us, and our unconscious is saying, I love you that much that I'm gonna die with you, mm-hmm. Or I love you that much that I'm not gonna fully be alive so I'm connecting with your process because I love you. Mm-hmm. But that's the unconscious mind. That's not really like deep inside our soul and their soul, they want us to want to evolve, but it's that process in the unconscious that wants to do that movement. So once we recognize that, we can again just be aware and change the meaning that we're giving to the situation. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, oh man, thank you for all that powerful talk.
Yes,
It's just like, I'm like
you.
mesmerized. I'm like, this is so cool to be, even for me to be aware of this type of healing. you know?
Absolutely.
It's beautiful work that you do. And I'm so happy that you followed that breadcrumb and was
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm curious to know where this might lead me. And now it's
Now you're facilitating.
you're holding the container for everybody.
Yes,
Thank
yes. So magical. You know, that's again, that's part of the path of beauty. I think that path of beauty, path of living a life of harmony and joy and love, it's about being at peace with living in the unknown. And every day, going to this place where we release the attachment of living the known, living in what we know, living in the familiar, and trusting, because that requires deepening our trust in this greater intelligence, in this great destiny of life. So yeah, we're all working on that. So I'm happy that I was able to follow that call as well, and that I'm here now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you again so much.
You're welcome.
We have
Thank
another
you.
session coming with what's the price?
Surprised. Yes. Thank you,
Thank
Diego.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the opportunity to share the message.
We forgot